So a lot of you are thinking of doing a PhD, a doctorate at this moment, and this video is going to really help you out with sort of thinking about the financial aspects of doing a PhD compared to just having a master's degree. So if you don't know me, I'm Professor Maslach. I'm an associate professor of innovation, strategy, and entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There are so many people that help me out that I want to pay the favor forward to help you out. So I'm going to just jump right into it. Generally, the returns on your investment for doing a doctorate is not that good. The financial returns, they just don't typically pan out that much. So you're going to spend, anywhere between 4 to 7 years working on a doctorate. And then from that, you're probably going to net, if you have a master's degree, you're probably going to net gaining maybe $20,000, $30,000 more per year at the end of doing that particular investment. So for me, and you also have to think about what you're actually doing and what your current doctorate or your current master's is in at this moment. So for me, I had a chemical engineering background from a really good school in Canada, University of Waterloo. And it was, I had a master's in management science and a chemical engineering undergrad. So those combined, I was probably going to net, and I actually had a job at the time was about $70,000. And to gain on top of that, and that's years ago, that was 2005. So that was only with, a few years of experience under my belt. If I would have stayed just as long in that particular career, in that particular domain, I would have done a lot better. I probably would have been at the, say, about $100,000 mark in Canadian dollars with an engineering degree and stuff like that. That's pretty normal in terms of the trajectory of what you're getting. And if I would have stayed in this, if I would have stayed in that domain, I would have been somewhere around there. And so when I got my first job in academia, I was a little over $100,000 in terms of what my salary is. Now, I'm in a business school, so the salaries are typically a lot higher than they are in other domains. So you have to really take that seriously in terms of what you're thinking about, because it makes a huge difference in the university system in terms of what you're getting. I know there's lots of reason for that, and I can get into why that is, but generally you have to really take that in consideration, what that actually means. So net, you're generally, in my experience, even with a, pretty good domain in terms of where I was going for, I was only up like $20,000, $30,000 more in terms of doing this particular degree. And so what the trouble is that, to recoup the benefit of doing a doctorate degree, I did the sort of financial return, I did the net present value calculation and looked at how much it actually was going to benefit from me. And I've looked at it several times since then. Its trajectory is pretty on par. I'm going to benefit, financially benefit from doing this degree of doing a doctorate in my 50s. So my mid 50s, I'm going to be net better off from doing that. So that's a huge investment. That's a really bad return on investment. And that's even doing everything that is, quote unquote, right, and going in all the areas that is going to sort of maximize my wealth and stuff like that. So I did a bunch of finance courses and my doctorate and stuff like that, because I thought it was going to be, beneficial to do those courses. So, if you do that particular domain, and if you do everything right, you're still going to be way off in terms of what you're going to net. Now, if you're starting off in a career that is less lucrative and sort of less, maybe you started off in a career where you are in retail clothing, for example, and you're doing really well in there. Well, the incomes in that area are substantially lower than in other areas. Now you can work your way up. There's lots of people that do extremely well in, restaurant franchising, so Wendy's and stuff like that. And you can do extremely well in those particular domains, but you have to work your way up just the same way that you work up in any particular career. So it's just going to take a long time. In that case, if you're starting off with a lower salary, you can, you can maybe benefit a little bit more from getting a doctorate. So it really depends on who you are and what you're doing. But in that domain, like I was saying, you can work your way up and do really well as well. So generally, it is really difficult to sort of say that the financial benefit that you're getting from a doctorate is going to be worth it. So why do actually people do a doctorate? Well, the reason, a big component of it, is that you get to study and do things that you really want to study, and you get to have this sort of impact in society. And those things are really, really important for people that are doing a career, is that having autonomy, having an impact, and seeing what that impact is on society, that is very, very rewarding for a lot of people. And that's why they get into the academic career, not only in terms of teaching, but in terms of the research that you're trying to do. And that research often has really huge impact, or can have a huge impact on how people actually manage things and do things going forward. So what I would suggest, if you are thinking of doing a doctorate, is that you want to think about the benefit for both having financial gain, but also looking at where you can serve your own purpose and grow as an individual and becoming a much better person as an individual. So those don't have to be exclusive, right? You can think about how to do that, and choosing your career, choosing what you're trying to do, they should overlap as much as you possibly can. So look at ways where you can enjoy and have a positive impact in the things that you're actually doing, and working with people that you're really excited about and having fun. And then as well, a second thing that's really important is look for areas that you are so curious about that you would be willing to pay somebody else to actually spend the time to investigate that thing. If you are at that stage, or you're thinking about it, you're just really curious. And if you're willing enough to pay a substantial amount of money to go and investigate these things, to get the resources to investigate these things, you're probably ready for going in that particular domain. That's kind of what you have to sort of think about, because you're foregoing a tremendous amount of opportunity and opportunity cost to go into a doctorate. So you have to be very, very careful, and you have to think about it as much as you possibly can. So what you want to do is look to see where you would be so excited that you would pay somebody else to actually study something for a while and to understand that particular thing. Now, the third thing that you should probably look for is look for a domain that has the greatest impact on people around you, and look for things that have a tremendous amount of impact in society. Not only in terms of what's going on in terms of, changing the state of society, but also in terms of when people are going to be willing to pay you to solve their particular problems. That's how you sort of get a return on something. And those are the particular things where people are, excited that you're doing research in that particular area. And as well, they're excited enough that they might actually pay you in different ways and stuff like that. And that's actually how you gain benefit. And that's why sometimes some salaries are a lot different than others from doing comparable things. In different domains. That's what happens in academia. It's unfortunate that some domains don't get the same sort of pay scale and stuff like that. But really, what's happening is market demands, and sometimes that seems really unfair. But there is market demands that play out in academia as well, in the university system. So you have to really, really consider those before you jump into a particular domain, and really think about that in terms of, is this going to be a positive? So I really want you to do this. If you're at the stage at this moment, think about, is this going to not only serve my purpose in terms of what I want to do for the rest of my life and be excited about it, but is this going to net, have a positive financial gain? So those two things are really important. And if it doesn't, you're not excited about those two particular domains or two things, then maybe you should sort of wait and think about doing something else. So with that, hopefully you learned something, and give me a thumbs up if you like this video. I do appreciate it. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.